first signed on, I thought you were getting a workout in. It sounded like you had some activity going on.
Yes, I was putting all my sparkling water into the fridge to start my week next week. So I drink a lot of that. It's a substitute for the energy drinks and all of that.
Yeah. Was that your sparkling water we had at training?
No.
Uh,
Oh, that's the kind of stuff I drink. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
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 So, hey, everybody, this is Liz. And today I have someone with me that you have heard before. And we interviewed last year, I think it was. And if you want to hear Brian Connor's story, you need to go back and hear his Augusta story, because today we're going to talk about our reflections of 2023 and our goals for 2024. I just saw Brian last week. He came up to train as a coach for Augusta Nation. This is our first group of coaches, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But we're so appreciative to have you here today, and there's a ton that I'm ready to ask you. So I already announced you as Brian Connor, but tell me just a little bit about yourself, your family, and just briefly your Augusta story.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm actually from Augusta, Georgia. So it's the town where the Augusta got its namesake. So that's pretty cool. I am, let's see, I've got two boys. One's Caden, he's 5, and Jackson is 2. My wife, Amber Connor, she's been on here as well. You'll see her interview, and she has a local bakery in town called Sinless Sweets. And so we've this year will be 10 years of marriage, and so we have been together and been through several businesses together. And so she originally helped me run a bar and also a nutrition business, and she's even helped out in the lawn care business. So she's been with me. She's been my best friend and partner ever since we met, and I am just super blessed and happy to have the family that I do right now.
Yeah, when I talked to you last weekend, there was so much good about your life and the balanced of person that you are. And I told you that she was your competitive advantage.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Without her, I would be off the rails and not very balanced at all.
Yeah, she's a remarkable woman. So lots of fun stories about your shiny object syndrome and how you pulled that together over the years. And I'm just beyond impressed of the growth that I've seen in you. So tell us a little bit about this past year, 2023. First, in the business, how did you meet your goals? Did you set goals for the year? Do you believe in setting goals? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I like to set goals. I used to set very large and try to get very detailed with not just 1 year, but 3, 5, 10, and 20. And that was a lot of wasted energy. And so yeah, I'd have big whiteboards and notebook papers. It looked like the movie A Beautiful Mind, and it was rough. But I learned through honestly through Mike, because I try to mirror as much as I possibly can from what Mike is doing, as far as specifically with the lawn care business. He's got other things that I'm not into, maybe never will be into, but specifically with lawn care and in the location, starting with Bellingham, and then going forward with that. Now I'm more, I'll do 1 year, and I'll do some tentative 3-year goals, that kind of thing. So what I usually do, we did hit our goals. One of the big goals, I think a lot of guys that get into business, they, and I used to do it too, like just be heavy on the revenue goals. And if you achieve those, you can achieve those goals and not have money in the bank, especially with us early on when we were in hyper growth. And we're like, all right, we got to hit this revenue goal. We would hit it. And me, I'd be surprised. I'd be like, well, man, doing all this work and there's no money in the bank. And so with him, Mike's, one of his famous phrases is, growth sucks cash. And it's okay to be in growth mode. Just know you're not probably not going to have cash at the end of at the end of the year unless you just had a surplus of cash and you were going to use an amount of it for growth and then have some for cash reserves. So this past year, 2023, we had set a goal. I want to say originally in the beginning of the year, we wanted to add $150,000 to the business bank. And we ended up adding 130. I'm sorry, we wanted $150,000 in the business bank, and we ended up with 132.
Awesome.
So it was it was close, and so that was great, and that was for the Augusta location. The North Augusta location really surpassed our goals, and so we had $200,000 for the top line revenue goal. And for those of you that don't know, North Augusta was our second location. We just started it beginning of last year, and we had a $200,000 revenue goal. And I think there was I've got it somewhere. I think it was like $20,000 for a profit goal, and we hit 220 with a $47,000 profit. So
Whoa, way to
yeah,
go.
yeah, more than double the profit that was anticipated. So it was excellent.
So did you actually sit down in December with Jeremy? So just to backtrack a little bit, you started with Augusta in Augusta, Georgia. And how long did you have that location before you opened your second one?
Yeah, so I had that location. So 2012 was Fine Lines, and then 2019 October I found Mike's channel, P for P. 2020 came to conference in January. February of 2020 I implemented P for P with my team. September I called Mike, joined the franchise. January 2021 it was official. We went to training, and we were Augusta Lawn Care. So 3 years of being Augusta, 2021, 22, and 23, and then on our third year, we started North Augusta. So we had 2 full years of being in Augusta, but then we had 8 years of being in business prior to that. So
can you share with us, on the 2 locations you had set these separate goals? What do you think the key to success was? Did you set incremental goals for each month, or how did you break it down for your large goals? And then on the second location, what was it you think that helped you succeed and actually surpass your goals?
yeah. So and you're asking about specifically about the second location?
Yeah, but both
Okay.
of them. So your
Yeah.
first one, obviously you had a plan because you were almost there. Basically, you were.
Yeah. And so a lot of it, if you like, we have history tracked. And so we can go to our CRM, and we can look at how many budgeted hours, per week, per month, how many team members we had. And then, we know how many trucks we have. And so I think asset-based capacity is where I start with to see what is possible. And then you've got what is it? A resource based, or how many team members you actually have, or how many you need to fill out your asset capacity. And so, for instance, McKeith's asset capacity when he first started, because he's the general manager of North Augusta, he had 1 truck, so we could put 2 team members in it, and we set a capacity of budgeted hours per week of 30 budgeted hours per team member. And so that's 60 budgeted hours times your hourly rate. And so his hourly rate of North Augusta was $80. And so that would be $4,800. Is that right? Yeah, $4,800 a week. I believe that's what it is. Let's see here. Yeah, that's $4,800 a week was his capacity. So we set it there, and then if you have you could see what your capacity is throughout the 12 months. But being in lawn care, you've got periods where it's slow in the winter, and then you've got periods of ramped up growth, and where the grass is growing and the leads are coming in. Everybody needs their grass cut. So you being I've had a bunch of years with Augusta in the systems, I could look at previous years and say, okay, we're going to grow by 20%. And I could just add, a 20% on each month.
Right.
I wanted to do it that way. And what we did is like, well, we're going to add a truck. And so I would just take all the numbers as far as what we did in the larger location and break it down to one truck. Okay. In the growing season. So one truck is just 2 team members, and you've got that same capacity like McKeat did when he started. You've got 60 budgeted hours and multiplied by the hourly rate. And then you could break it down even further, which I've done for, let's see here. Got my scratch piece of paper here for North Augusta. That's pretty detailed. And so I'll show you. This is the scratch.
And when did you do this? Is this what the result was, or this is what you drew out at the beginning of the year?
This is a similar thing that I wrote out for last year, but this is my process. This one's for this year. And so, for instance, here you've got North Augusta. Like I said, we start out with asset capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so now McKeat, our goal is to add 1 truck. And so that's an additional 2 team members.
Okay.
So right up here. Where's it at? This way. We've got 4 team members. Yeah, you got to move it backwards. Times the budget hour capacity per team member, which is 30. Times how many weeks are in a month. Times the hourly rate. And you get the monthly capacity for that truck.
Sweet.
Okay. Yep. And then I wanted to see how many mows, because that's how we judge here at Augusta. We're concerned about recurring revenue, which is our mowing customers. And so all main metrics as far as growth are based upon that, at least for our location. And so an average mow price, which is $65 biweekly, we need to add 60 budgeted hours of mowing, which would fill up the additional 2 team members. And so that's 130 clients that we need to add. And then I look and say, okay, this way. What is reasonable? January, I want to add 2 mow clients. February, because here in Georgia, no grass is growing. So it'd be kind of unreasonable to think we're going to add a whole lot. February, I'm going to try to add 15. We're going to do a bunch of door hangers. So that's the only reason why I think we can add some. March is when we start mowing. So we're going to add 20 there, 40 in April, 55 in May. The goal is to hit capacity by June 1st. And that way we can focus on mows and then booking out projects at the end of the year.
So last year with McKeat, did he end up getting a second truck?
No. So we never had planned to do that. If for some reason, like early on in the rush, April, May, even June, if we saw a bunch of people wanting, mows, we would have had the benefit of having Augusta. So we could have filled in a little bit of the capacity and then bought him a truck. But what we did is we got him to capacity in June. Like I was telling you before, his on the sheet, his asset-based capacity was 60 budgeted hours per week. He was doing 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
By himself.
No, he had a team member.
He had a team member. Okay.
Yeah. But there was
he was working.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But yeah, June was rough for him. That he hit his personal capacity in June. A lot of weekends, a lot of 7 o'clock days.
Yeah.
And he was tired, fatigued. And so what we did is we raised prices. There was minimal drop off, but then he could just focus on mainly recurring mows, recurring business throughout the meat of the growing season. And so that's how I believe we're so profitable. It's because we hit capacity in June, raised prices in July, and then we were in profit mode from then on. So
both your locations are right up against each other, right? So do you have the same estimator, or did he have to route in estimates and do them as well?
Yeah. So this year, there's a lot of firsts. We've never had a location, an additional location or a a manager that wasn't inside the business that the owners were currently in. And so we used our resources that we have. We've got an office. Jeremy's my partner. He is the operations manager. He does the scheduling, the hiring, anything that has to do with making the business work. He's in
Mhm.
that role. And then I'm the full-time estimator. And so we decided that, because McKeat, he did 2 seasons in the field for us. So production was great.
Mhm.
And we decided that, and he was also a battlefield hire. So
Okay.
he was in the Augusta location doing being a field team member, and we needed to replace our first general manager. And so this was in May.
Mhm.
So we couldn't send him to training because we needed somebody in place ready to roll.
Yeah.
He got a call and on a weekend, and we're like, "Hey man, we think you'd be ready. This is what we have available for you. Do you want the challenge?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so he rolled right in, um, and he focused on production, and he did a really good job at it. And then I did estimates. Jeremy did operations as far
Well,
as the
he
scheduling.
just came up to training with you, and I got to talk to him a little bit, and I asked him what it was about him that you saw in him that you would ask him above others to become the GM and to become the GM that fast. And what was it that you did see in him that you would pick him out of others to hop in like that?
In one word, it'd be desire.
Hmm.
Um, he had the desire because what we had done originally, we knew. I guess it was been. I forget if it was the first year of Augusta that we laid out a vision for our
Mhm.
team, or if it was the second. But he had known for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, that our goal for the company was to grow the North Augusta location, specifically Aiken, and then that was kind of what me and Jeremy's plans were for the future, for our finances, and just for the growth. The challenge of seeing how many locations that we can handle, and
Mhm.
so we preached it, we talked about it a lot. That hey, if you want to move up in this company specifically, we've got opportunity. And
Mhm.
so I even had a general manager board, and it had all the documents that Mike has on the dashboard, the compensation plan, the, what the job entails, everything. And originally people could sign up
Mm.
if they wanted to be in consideration of that job. But originally what I did is I took and I chose the people I thought would be good without even really talking to them. And so
Mhm.
that was one of I think the problems that I had first with our
Mhm.
first general manager is that I saw potential in them, and yeah,
Mhm.
they had great potential, but until somebody shows their desire,
Yeah.
they're not volunteering for that ride. And so, um, he would show up to the optional meetings. We would talk about him wanting to be general manager, what I thought he needed to do to work on. I'd recommend Audible books, things like that. And he was the only one that really did any of that. So that was that was it in one word, desire. And I think that's
Mhm.
how from now on, if there's upward mobility, that's got to be there first before we can find out if there's potential.
Yeah. So looking to this upcoming year, are you planning with the first location to be in just kind of maintenance mode? Or are you planning on stepping on the gas on that one and the second location?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of people, at least for me as well, and I'm sure a lot of Augusta Nation, because you don't come to Augusta to push a lawnmower for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You come for the growth, but there's times, and Mike will hammer down. Are you in growth mode, or are you in profit mode? You can't
Yep.
have one step in the on the line of well, I'm going to grow, but I'm going to profit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, and I think everyone should adopt this. If
Mm-hmm.
you've got some sort of growth goals during that time period, you're in growth mode. And so for the North Augusta location, they did 220. Our goal is, and that's the bottom part of it. I'll show you how we come to that. Is $345,000. And so if you look at it, that's about that's over a 50% growth goal.
Mm-hmm.
That would be percentage wise, that's high, but it's really just taking one truck, two team members, and filling it up.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we did last year. And so definitely 100% in growth mode on that. But our goal is to, just like we did last year, is to get to capacity in June, raise prices, and then for the rest of the year be in profit mode. So
Sweet.
that's how, like, I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time. Like, are you in
Mhm.
growth mode or are you in profit mode? Well, it doesn't have to mean that you are in growth mode all year long.
True. That's a great point.
You're in growth mode until you hit your growth goal. And then you can decide, okay, do I have more capacity? How much longer of the busy season do we have left? What should we do? Should we buy more assets and raise that capacity
Mhm.
and remain in growth mode? Or do we raise prices and then float through profit mode the rest of the year? And so that's the
Mhm.
goal for North Augusta. And then Augusta, the larger location, last year we had at the peak 14 team members.
Mhm.
And I think we had 7 trucks in production. Yeah, 7 trucks in production. We're going to add 1 truck. We want to fill out a mowing route
Mhm.
and 2 team members. But really only account for 1 additional team member. So 15 team members that are actively in the field at all time
Yep.
at the peak season, and just another. I think it's what was it? Additional $200,000 in growth.
Sweet.
So yeah, so not huge growth, but just like North Augusta, we want to get to capacity in June and then switch it over to profit mode.
So you hit your goals last year because you're very realistic and you lay out the numbers really well, and it's well thought out by the numbers, not just oh, I hope we can do this, but you seem like you had a good plan of action.
Yeah, I think it helps. And then our weekly meetings that I have with North Augusta location McKeat are based upon the smaller numbers that make up the larger monthly goals. So we talk mainly in budgeted hours, of course, revenue that's coming in. But if the budgeted hours are on the schedule and they're being completed, the revenue comes. And so we talk a lot in budgeted hours.
Yes.
Revenue is because of his bonuses.
Okay. Yes. So how does he feel about making salary now as opposed to P for P? How does that change for him?
Yeah, so initially, because he was a high performer,
Mm-hmm.
um, the initial salary was $1,000 a week, so $52,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he made that and maybe a little bit more on P for P.
Got it.
And so the mentality at first, I'm sure he would attest to this, that he's like, man, that's, not the money is not as great as he would like it to be. And I
Yeah.
think Mike, as far as when he designed the pay and the compensation for the general managers, that was purposeful.
Yes.
You've got this salary that is just comfortable enough to get you by, but you're not comfortable with it. You wouldn't choose the job for the salary.
Yes.
And then you've got growth, you've got incentives based around growth and then profit. That is really what you're after, and that's your motivating factor. And so once McKeep saw that and was like, okay, he understood the game.
Mm-hmm.
He enjoyed it because his first year it was all growth incentives. There's no profit incentives if you're following the systems, to a T. For Augusta, first year, second location, you got incentives based upon revenue, and so that's what we did. He ended up doing about, I think, $7,000 of bonuses. I think there was,
Sweet.
yeah, it was great. And so he did make more money his first year, but it was because of the growth that he went through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When you started last year, how do you feel like your leadership skills progress throughout the year? When you do your goals, do you break them down like, fitness, food, spiritual goals, relationship goals, and then any type of leadership goal in the actual business?
Yeah. So I've got goal categories that I have. This is my personal goal sheet or
Mm-hmm.
goal book, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And so the categories are right here: physical, financial, spiritual, relational, professional, psychological, intellectual, philanthropic. Hadn't quite gotten too much of that going on yet.
Someday.
But got to get the financials first, and
Yes.
then personal character and leadership. And so I ranked them, number one, make sure I'm good with God, my wife, and then me being a father. So that's the top three. I don't really rank anything else because I know if I've got those three, everything else will be good because those are my goals. And so, as far as being a leader, a lot of that this past year, I would say, is really God grabbed me
Mm-hmm.
and showed me like, hey, this is what I want for you. This is what you're currently focused on, and my priorities were not in line. And so I wasn't chasing after him first. I was chasing after the business.
Mm-hmm.
And even to my family, I would say I was chasing the business a lot over them. And
Mm-hmm.
so Mike talks about it a lot, and I don't, for the life of me, understand it's got to be God given because he doesn't have a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
like personally.
Yeah.
But he's one of the most in tune people to how important relationships are in the business world that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because he understands that if your personal relationships aren't good, eventually your business is going to be, it's not even going to be worth talking about. And
Yes.
so you might as well get that in line. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, you've got to be real. You got to be real with yourself. And just like you do at the beginning of the year and you do asset-based capacity, what are my resources? How
Mm-hmm.
many trucks do I have? How many team members am I going to have? Um, you've got to understand that you only have a certain amount of time and energy, and if you've got a family, um, you've got to. That's part of your resources.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't put the time there and you don't include them in that plan, they can fail, and they will fail. And
Yeah.
so I was very fortunate. God grabbed me before any of that even became an issue. But I was like straying a little.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I do my best to be in the Word daily. And
Mm-hmm.
so I use Audible. Um, I pray a lot. And then as far as the leadership specifically, I just read a book. I think it was Mike or you. Somebody recommended it in Augusta Nation as well. It's Good Authority.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I recommend that book for leadership style, dealing with just the day to day stuff that you're going to get from employees and being a leader. And I do my best. And one, I follow y'all a lot. Liz, you are probably probably the best operator that I've ever seen. I get to see more of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Layla and a lot of people that I look up to. I don't, you're killing it. And so I look to you for operations and how you handle people. And then I look to Mike as well. And then beyond that, recommendations from the group. And I try to be cognizant of it. And what I read is, leadership qualities
Mm-hmm.
or leadership type books.
I specifically asked your GM when he was here if he had seen your leadership style change over time. And I asked him, did you feel like he was maybe overbearing before and kind of like intensely driving what you should be doing and how you should be changing and how you should be listening to Audible and just, having lots of talking and all of that? And I said, have you seen his leadership improve? And he said, yes, he had seen some change in you over time. So that's why I asked how you feel your leadership changed last year.
I think, yeah, I used to, number one, I used to think that uh, I could impress my will. I see the potential in everybody. So if
Mm-hmm.
anybody comes onto Augusta, I'm immediately like, and we are about that.
Yeah.
You come here, you're at field level, you're mowing grass, but immediately we're asking you, what are your next steps? And I think that's changed. The delivery of
Mm-hmm.
that has changed over the past year or last year. It changed from the years prior. Is that I thought it was my duty to take control, and I was going to implant that into their lives like
Yeah.
by force. And
Yeah.
that's not just like you and I. We're going to change because we want to change.
Right.
and when we're ready. Everyone's like that. And so you can offer it. And the best thing, like you're saying, is you got to show it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you offer it, you talk about it. Try not to impress your will on others, even though you see potential and you see, I guess, kind of like a parent. I don't have teenagers yet, but I can kind of see, like, you can see these young men come in, and you can look at, like, you can tell they're not happy with their
Yeah.
current life. And you can also tell that it's a lot of times it's the decision, like just like me and you, it's the decisions that they're making is why they're not happy.
Right.
And you see it clear as day because it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, if you just did this, this, and this, you'd be more fulfilled, you'd be happier, you'd be more successful. But when they come in, they're not ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just not. And they may not ever, they may not be with
I
you.
was just going to
It may
say
be the
that.
next people.
Yeah, Mike is out of town right now, headed to a turnaround, and we talked on the phone last night just to go over, like, catch up on where he is with Copilot and me with Command Center and all of that. And we were actually talking about that. Like, we cannot expect somebody to be a leader. There's somebody in our organization, and we've watched them and groomed them and helped them and pour ourselves out for them. And you come to a place where you realize they will never be a leader. They don't play well with others. They love to be a solo person. It doesn't mean they're totally awesome at their job and they're a huge asset to Augusta. And so we are finding places for those kind of people where they can excel on their own, where they're not with a whole bunch of team members that they have to lead. But in that position, they're really going to have to excel even by themselves, or their compensation won't go up. So you have to still be generating revenue. But you're right, some of them you don't want to push, really, because what if you push them into, like you said about your first GM, you saw
Yeah.
all that potential in him, but he couldn't deliver. He was incapable at that time in his life.
Yeah. At that time. Yeah. 100%. And it was, and he looked at me and Jeremy, we were huge influences in his life. And so by us pressing and pushing, he went along with it. And really it was my fault, for, putting him in a position that he wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
100%. But luckily he's coming back.
I love
So
it. I
that's
love
good
it.
news.
Yeah. So sometimes we learn from our mistakes. We all do, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking to this upcoming year, you told us a little bit about business, but setting your goals for all those other categories, personal growth. Can you tell us a little bit about that in regards to your health and your diet? As you know, it's hard to be sharp and clear and on top of your game unless you take care of yourself. So, what are your methods of doing that?
Yeah, 100%. Physical health I mean, in today's age, it's even on mainstream social media, it's out there,
Yeah.
and so I think people are very aware that it's important. Um, for me personally, it's something that got me out of it built my self confidence when I
Mhm.
was 12, 13, 14, 15. Um, it got me out of a lot of dark times, trauma from childhood, and then it just became a passion for me. And
Yeah.
so it's been with me all my life, and I didn't realize it until I I kind of got out of the consistency of it. Um, I think I've been back in over 2 years now, so
Mhm.
it's maybe it was yeah, it was right when Jackson was born, my
Mhm.
youngest. And then I think a year before I'd gotten out of it and my mindset changed. I was more negative. The world wasn't sunshine and rainbows like I usually see it.
Mhm.
And so it's super important.
Mhm.
But I used to do competitive bodybuilding. So what me and my wife did together, we were actually going to do a full nutrition based coaching business,
Mm.
buy a gym and all that. And so we were into it. And even if you're not into it though, like Jeremy, actually, my partner, he just started his physical journey, making time for it. I think he started in September, and I've seen changes in him personality wise. We still wrestle in the office. Physical wise, he's gotten stronger. And so, but yeah, me personally, I was so involved in it. There was times when I was competing 6 days a week, sometimes 2 a days, And then the extreme end of that is you're dealing with preparing your food, weighing it out.
Mhm.
You got cardio, you got posing, you got all of it.
And you're
And so,
hungry.
and you're hungry. And so that's the extreme end of it. And I've noticed that for people, a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. They are very good at the extreme ends of, giving your all, just going after it. They're good. That's what they like.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to, okay, maybe you've got other things, you can't just index towards the extreme. You've got your family,
Yes.
you've got employees, you've got other things. That's when it gets hard, because you have to, like, what I decided to do is I'm not going to do competitions.
Mhm.
And I'm good with that. But I'm going to spend 4 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I get up, I get to the gym at 4 a.m. and I spend 45 minutes to an hour and 15 doing what I enjoy, which is weightlifting, hypertrophy based. So still trying to build a little muscle, and
Mhm.
it makes me happy. And then as far as and then no weekends are for the family, and I don't have to feel like I have to do something while I'm working. So I'm present with the business when the business needs me, when my family needs me, and so that makes me real happy and level. And then as far as the diet goes, um, currently in a deficit, so I've got about 5 more weeks of steady weight loss. And I track it on an app. Uh,
Mhm.
I use Renaissance periodization. The guys at RP Fitness, a bunch of PhDs came together and they took what is typically bro science, and their PhDs in kinesiology and biomechanics and stuff like that. So they've got the science behind it, and
Yeah.
that's what I've been following for about 5 years.
So you're definitely a numbers guy. So you're
Yeah,
watching your numbers and your micros and your macros and the
yeah,
whole thing. Can you tell us in a day, typically with our kind of schedule in the lawn care and landscape industry, all of the guys struggle with the food thing. So a lot
yeah,
of them are just throwing back energy drinks. They don't pack their lunch because they're so dead tired from the night before. They
yeah.
barely get out of bed, put on the same dirty clothes they wore yesterday, and then they just head out again. And so, how would you recommend for them to be able to pack their lunches or to even remotely try to eat healthy when, McDonald's and, Burger King and Taco Bell are the only thing they seem to have time for?
Yeah, that's very true. So there's a lot of components that I think about with that. And so before you're ready to prep, Jeremy's prepping. He preps his meals now. And there's a lot of guys that bring their meals. P for P will
100%.
pay for performance will make you want to bring your meals because you don't want to stop at gas stations or,
Yes.
heaven forbid, a sit down restaurant. That'd be terrible.
Yes.
But initially, what I would say is start making just better decisions of what you're currently doing. So there's a lot of changes when it comes to eating healthy. Because, like you said, most guys, they go into the gas station, they'll grab a taquito, bag of chips, energy drink with a bunch of sugar. And so initially, just change what you're getting at that same place. Because
Mhm.
now, Circle K's, Sprint gas stations, I think y'all got Circle K's.
Not
They
close.
no,
No,
okay.
but I know what they are because we do QuickBooks for the franchisees.
Yeah, so there's a lot of gas stations where I'm at that have actually healthy, very expensive food. But you can get 4 eggs. You can get a salad with some turkey. You can
Mhm.
probably get some lunch meat or something like that. You can go get beef jerky. You can get a bag of pretzels, which is better than a bag of chips.
Yep.
And so, and then if you like the energy drinks, I'll be honest with you, I'm a Monster addict.
Mhm.
But I picked the zero, the 0 calorie, the white can, and
Yep.
so just doing the same thing you're doing, just making the healthier version first, and then if you want to prep, which is saves you money, saves
Mhm.
you actually time, um, and you get a little more control of your day. I like the crock pot and I like big pans. So what I do, what me and my wife do on the weekend, is we get a bunch of our meat for Monday, usually Monday through Saturday. I think I still got some meat. We're gonna have to go soon. But as far as the grocery store, right now I'm on ground beef, and
Mhm.
so I pick the lean ground beef, just like you can chicken or turkey. you can pick a 96.4. So that's 4% fat ground beef. A lot of people don't know that. They're used to the 80/20 or
Yes.
whatever it is. So yeah, you can pick lean ground beef. I usually get about 4 pounds of it. Then I come home and I just put it in a bunch of pans. Right now I'm on a ground beef with taco seasoning.
Yummy.
And so I just make a bunch of taco meat meals throughout the day. Put it in, go ahead and weigh it out. Right now I'm doing 7 ounces per meal. I weigh them out. I put them in Tupperware, put them in the refrigerator. And then vegetables, days before kids, we would fresh vegetables, chop them up, do something with them. Now, frozen veggies, single serve are our friend. And you just pop them in the microwave, and they're actually pretty good. So yeah, that's what I do. And then before in the morning when I wake up, I've got a little lunch box with those little ice blocks. I put a couple Tupperwares as you eat 2 meals throughout the day while I'm working. And then, yeah, I'm ready to roll. I've already got everything I need. As an estimator, I'm driving around a lot. And the only reason I pop into a gas station is to warm up my meal. And that's it. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. And there's going to be people that are in the office when you have bigger companies like yours. Somebody's in the office, and because they're routing, dispatching, and helping the guys moving mows around and trying to get them back, they can never leave the office either. So, and especially if there's only a few of you, there's no way they can ever leave. Like we had snow this week, and I am mildly sympathetic, but I mean, when people are too lazy to even get a shovel and shovel out around their cars. And then we realized we used to do snow routes and dig out our plows and salters. And that's even before we started our route at night. And so we've had that this week. But I used to bring one of those huge igloo lunch boxes because I could never leave. And we were 12, 14 hours a day. And the guys would just laugh me to scorn. But I had to put every drink, every single thing from morning till night because that was all my food for the whole day, right? And if we ran snow routes, then I was staying all night. So I learned to just throw a lot of meat sticks, cheese sticks, and I was on keto then. And so a lot of nuts and everything in there, just grab and go. So it is not easy. And we completely understand and can sympathize with everybody in our industry that it is extremely difficult to stay healthy. So what about would personal development be for you audibles, podcasts, and do you digest certain topics for a period of time? Do you do podcasts and then go back to audibles? Do you have a system for that? Or is it kind of how you feel like it at the moment?
I used to, back when I had shiny object syndrome, I used to have a lot of different, but I think it's good to learn it. I used to have a lot of different podcasts that I would listen to about finances, about different ways to invest, how to develop your wealth. We're from stocks to real estate, all different little side hustles, all that noise. But it was good to learn.
Yeah.
I don't listen to any podcasts anymore except for C-Suite Unfiltered. And but that's it. Plus, I've got Mike's Minutes Masterminds every day that I listen to. So right now it is in the morning times, and a lot of times throughout the day too. It depends. But in the morning times on the way to work, I put in Through the Word, and I try to go. Right now, I'm just trying to go through the Bible, just on these journeys, and then throughout the day, I'll change it up and I'll listen to some business development. Like the most recent one I listened to was Good Authority, and then Extreme Ownership. I go through once a year now, and so there's days where I'm more heavy throughout the day on. I'm the estimator, so I get to drive around and have that in my ear all day, which is nice. Jeremy, he's doing that too, but he's got employees calling him, clients. He's emailing. He's doing things that he can't. When you're typing stuff, you can't have stuff in your ear.
Nope.
It just doesn't work. And so, but he's going through it too. And then there's some days where I'm like, I don't want to hear. And it depends on where you're at too.
Yes.
some days I just got to do what's in front of me.
Yeah.
And if I've got anything in my head, it's going to get in the way of that. And so, and then there's some days where, like I said, I'll get into a book of, or I guess they're calling them journeys and through the word,
Yeah.
a, uh, a section of of the message, and I'll just listen to that for, all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, how I lead. And that is a huge part of my leadership is I try to lead. I try to lead like God would lead.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of very practical leadership type stuff in the Bible. So,
Have you had your employees watch that kind of change in you and notice that the more you're in the word and in prayer, that there is some sort of change in you that they actually ask what it is about you, or are you pretty vocal about it?
I'm very vocal about it. And matter of fact, me and McKeith have connected over that. He's wanted to learn about God, about the Bible, and so we have discussions about it. I pray with a lot of the guys. So, if they're going through something, sometimes I'll just ask them like, "Hey, man, you mind if I pray with you real quick?" And nobody's ever said no. And I think it can be an awkward thing, uh,
Yes.
and but I think the more you do it, the more natural it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think the guys, even if they don't, you know, even if wherever they are in their faith, I think if you are authentic and you really want to, you take that time and you pray with them, I think they appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um, you know, so
for
but yeah,
sure. For sure. So, do you sit down in December and put all those out and kind of contemplate what you're going to do for the year and write them out then?
I typically do. Yeah, sometimes it depends on the timing. I didn't do a whole lot for this year. Matter of fact, I need to add some. Um, but one of mine, let's see here. Physical ones are pretty easy.
Yeah.
So like last year, we get this thing. So get down to 165. This was on last year's.
Okay.
I hit that goal. I don't think I might have put the date somewhere. But then maintain 165 to 170 throughout the year. So yeah,
Yeah.
last year I hit my goal, but then I shot back up to 190 pounds. Not immediately, but
Mhm.
I'd say by Christmas, I was like, man, I'm 190 pounds again. And so, oh yeah, I hit it May last year, 168.8. And so this year, I was like, okay, well, this is the 4th of January. I'm 186.6. This is my deficit that I'm in. It's only 8 weeks and get down to 175. So basically lose about 11 pounds and get down to 165 by July
Mhm.
and then maintain throughout the rest of the year. And so, the book is good. I like keeping the book
Yes.
and using it because a lot of the goals you're going to have are going to be built off of how you did last year.
Yeah.
Especially when you start, you're like, okay, I got all these categories. I'm sure there's going to be a year where I do something completely different, but for the most part, there's going to be some similarities. So I build off of it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's funny when when you do go to the extreme, the middle line is a very hard target to hit.
It
And so,
is.
I like to eat. So on stage, I'd get down to 155. Um, and then the rebound was always rough. And it's extreme. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. So I know that Mike and I, we do our goals in December. And then the following September, we ask each other where we are in our goals. And we do
Okay.
all the categories too. We do our yearly, our 3 year, and our 5 to keep it realistic. Because doing the 10 and 20 is just a little much usually, and it switches as you go along.
Right.
And then this year it was more like, okay, I'm kind of needing to just maintain what I did last year, maybe make a few adjustments, and so we're on the right track. So we didn't have to do a whole sit down and put our lists out. we are just able to say, okay, I wrote these down. I've got these 5 things, and this is what I'm going to focus on this year. And then we try to hold each other accountable. Do you do rewards for yourself when you hit your goals, or is the goal reaching itself enough reward for you?
I usually don't do rewards. Now when I hit like those little deficit goals,
Yeah,
I will probably not probably. There's two places I like to go.
yeah,
Pizza joint. Love their pizza, and then we got a farmhouse burger restaurant that I go to. So yeah, that's a little mini reward. But yeah,
yeah.
most of them are just hit the goal and move on to the next one. I have a question. I know you're interviewing me, but I'd like to. What was the two um, goals that you hit last year that you hold most dear? What was the two goals that you're most proud of?
Yeah, so I tried to focus on for the personal growth, like in business, to only listen to business podcasts and to narrow them down. So as time goes on, the what you listen to matures because you become smarter, you become wiser, more intelligent. And so things I used to start on with first kind of podcast was Jocko, Lewis Howes with School of Greatness, Ed Milet, and they're more inspirational and go for your goals. But then you hit a time where you need the depth and stuff that really is almost too deep for you. So that was my goal last year, was to only focus on that. I don't put a limit on myself for Audible books, but one after the other, I have to be constantly listening to something that makes me better. So I did that last year. I had set physical, like weight loss and then eating goals. And so I switched from keto to carnivore. And so I did carnivore for 4 months to see just how different it was from keto, what the results would be. So I did carnivore till the end of the year. So those were things I wanted to try and stuck with to just see. Um, and then those would probably be the two that come to mind right now. So my goals, like my 2 or 3 year goals, I have bigger things like when I got divorced, I lost everything. So I lost our custom built home, my cards, and all of that. So I have like a 2 year goal of to get a condo now. And then I have like personal things that I have to have rewards. So if
Yeah,
I get between a certain weight, then I say, then I can't go, like you have your 10 pound thing. Same thing. I have to stay in the 10 pound thing. And if I'm there, if I do that till March 1st, then I get the reward that I set up for myself. So
nice.
I'm very goal oriented and there has to be a reward. So my personal relationships, like Mike is my nephew. So that I just, with our relationship, I've tried to be more supportive and not try to change him. So let him be the way he needs to be and support as I can, back away if I can't, and to keep my mouth shut. So that's been the biggest, like, wait till I'm calm enough to say, I think that we made the wrong decision, or I think we need to readjust or whatever. And he always wants my feedback, but I don't want to do that when I'm mad because things come out that shouldn't. So keeping my mouth shut, I've tried to do last year and I did a lot better at that. So I'm going to continue to try to do that.
Yeah. Well, good. What's your the reward that you have for your weight loss? What is your typical reward that you like to do?
Yeah, so now that I'm getting older, there are things like surgery and stuff that I'd like to do. And that's something that I would have never in a million years thought that I could do anything like that. As
Yeah.
you get older, things get droopy, your eyelids and that kind of stuff. And there are hereditary things that you think I could never fix that, or that could
Yeah.
never be something I could afford. But if you know that's going to be a goal and you're going to reward yourself, then you're already budgeting a little bit, even if it takes years. And then you say, okay, this year it seems realistic. It's kind of it's expensive, but I've been saving all this time. So this is what I'll do this year. So like this year, it's physical things. And then next year, it would probably be at the end of the year, like a 2 year goal to maybe buy a condominium or something.
Oh, nice. This is going
Yeah.
to be on the like where was I just at? What bay is that?
Oh, you were at Birch Bay.
Birch Bay. That's a
Yeah.
cool spot.
So where I would be would be more in Bellingham.
Okay.
because it would be closer to what our Augusta is going to be. And
That's right.
I try to keep everything I'm doing, budget all my time and cut down on anything that causes excess time. So the drive. So I have all these rules of how it's got to be because, time is money, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
I made sure I need to live right off the freeway because the freeway goes from all the way down and it's right off the freeway where Augusta is.
Okay.
So I moved to an apartment that's right off the freeway. So I'm at Augusta in just a little bit of time. And the places I'm looking at, I'm very limited because I don't need a big place because my kids are grown up, but I need to have a place to work out. And it can be tiny. Like I lived in a little studio for many years that was 200 square feet. So I don't need a lot, but it would be nice to own again. So
Yeah.
that's my couple year goal. And then I have a vehicle that I'm gonna use till it dies, and then I'll let myself buy another car. So it's been 12 years, like since my whole world crashed, and so it's been grinding, right? I
Yeah.
feel like I've lost time. So where I am now, I would have been 10 years ago if that hadn't all happened. So I'm like um, clawing my way back up, so to speak. And I've made up those 10 years. So now the world looks hopeful. And the things I never thought possible, I'm going to keep working really hard. So making money is the biggest thing right now because I don't want my kids to have to take care of me when I'm older. I want a place where they can come and know mom is good. And that's all starting to happen. So that in itself is a reward for me. And to see my kids be so incredible, it's worth all the work and the sacrifice.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So enough about me. I have another question about you and your wife. So a lot of people are going to ask, what if your wife, your partner, your girlfriend is as goal oriented as you? If they're type A, type B, whatever, but they have all these goals laid out also. How do you work together to make each other's goals come true, like for that year, knowing it's hard for both of you?
Yeah, I think having a partner, um, if you put it's not putting yourself, it's not what is it? It's putting your partner's desires ahead of yours,
Mm,
and then not that your desires aren't going to come true, but if you have a partner, hopefully she's doing the same thing or they're doing the same thing. They're putting
yeah,
your desires ahead. And so if you're both doing that, um, it's easy for instance, when Amber is her busy season and she needs to bake late. She may not know it from the beginning of the day. If she calls me, she's like, "Hey, can you?" She typically picks up the boys, and she's like, "Hey, can you pick up the boys today?" It might be 3 o'clock, and I might have X amount of estimates.
right.
I immediately will be like, yeah, no problem. I've got it, and I'm flexible. So it's not like I'm not mowing, so but
Yeah.
I can go pick up the boys. I can take them with me if I want to. It's doing stuff like that. Just being flexible and knowing that your partner's desires, you want to be there to aid them and help them. So basically, kind of treating them like they're your desires too,
Hmm.
and know that y'all are both helping each other. When they need it, you're there. When you need it, they're there.
Yeah. Do you let her set her own goals, or do you try to make her goals for her?
I used to make her goals for her, and she's not real. She's heavy operations, and she's
Got
in a
it.
part of. I've got to understand that she's in a part of her business that she is the octopus.
Yes.
All the creativity is her, and she's actually, which is big for her, hard for her. She's just got a couple girls that have started to want to introduce recipes of their own or work
Sweet.
on things, and so she
Yes.
allows that. And then but everything from the scheduling to the production, how much production, all of the customers, all the communication goes through her. So even as she's baking, she's answering. We use Wix
Hmm.
for our website, but she also has Facebook and Instagram. all three of those channels have to be answered immediately. Somebody
Right.
asks about a specific cake. Um, so she's heavy in the operations of her business and just the doing right now.
Yes.
And so, and then she also takes our boys to school and picks them up. And as far as her priorities, um, being an amazing mom and a wife is definitely number one. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what drives her. And I've had to realize, like, okay, yeah, she's got a business. That's something that we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also different. And when at first I was like, all right, let's set goals. Let's do a year projection and, involve her in what I would do in a business.
Mm-hmm.
She's not interested in that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but I also know that when she needs something, she comes to me.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
so, it's like, well, when she needs it, when she wants it, like for instance, this past year, she wanted to do some form of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just set it up through Wix. I set up a Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And then I
Yeah.
track her marketing spend, her return on ad spend. And I let her know if it's with products, your return on ad spend is huge because you've got all these costs, and if you're not getting a certain multiple of that, then you're spending money and not making money. So that's pretty much what I did for her last year,
Mm-hmm.
and now whatever she whatever she wants to do, I support.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say to other business owners to encourage them for this upcoming year for goals they might have? Is it increments? Is it rewards? What would you say to encourage them in business and personally?
Augusta specifically, or just general?
Both, both.
Okay. Um, I would say knowing your resources, number one, and creating as far as your goals. I like the acronym SMART. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if writing your goals down is the first step, and being specific about what they are, so you know how to measure them when they're achieved, and then just being real with yourself of what's achievable in the time frame, and only you can determine that. Nobody can tell you what's realistic, what's achievable. Only you can say that. Um, and then also, what was big for me, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a financial game,
Mm-hmm.
and what, like, I think in this, for whatever reason, talking about money, people are like, oh, you're evil if you want to be this rich or this, that, and the other. But Mike has done really well about it, and I can understand, like, when you're talking about it. People will say, "Oh, yeah, money is the root of all evil," and it's like, no, it's not. It's when money becomes your idol above
Yes.
God. But you can, with money, if you are wanting to live live right by God, or just even if you're not in the faith, if you do good things with money, like the Hermosis, I don't think they're faith based,
Mm-mm.
but they are great, amazing people,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that if they have billions of dollars, they're going to help a ton of people, and
Yeah.
so I think, yeah, what you do with your money is really cool. And I know one of my reasons why I do all this is for a financial goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think, if you have that goal, and if it's a big one, breaking it down into small steps and realizing that enjoying the process throughout will keep you in the game longer, keep you happier and more refreshed throughout. And this isn't a short game.
Yeah.
This is a very long game. And depending on how large your goal is, like for Augusta, for instance, there's three profitable growth models. Three, zero to getting to 200,000. Hey, morning, Boogie.
Morning.
0 to 200,000. Getting to 200,000, you can be profitable as a solo. And getting to 500,000 is a profitable model, and then 800,000 plus. So whatever is in your business, I'm sure there's a similar model.
Yeah.
But just knowing that chipping away and getting there, is important, and focusing on where you are in that path. Because I
Yeah.
know me, when I was first starting, even when I was, just me and a mower, I was like, man, I got to get this $10 million business. And if you focus on that, that could be 20 years away.
Yeah.
And you're in year one, it can get very discouraging when times get tough, and you're like, man, I'm so far away, I'm never going to get there. But yeah, don't look at the end goal. Look at where you're at, and like, okay, where do I need to get to this year?
Yeah.
I think would be the biggest biggest recommendation.
Yeah, we appreciate your time today, and I know Saturday is your day with the family. One last question:
Yeah.
you were chosen to be a coach for Augusta Nation, and Amber had said to me that she thought your passion was coaching, supporting, helping others achieve their goals. So, is this something you're looking forward to? Are you nervous about it? What are your expectations in this role?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I do believe that that is one of the callings that I have. I've been in coaching roles throughout my life, whether it be with fitness and bodybuilding, uh, tennis. I was a coach. I was a tennis coach, and then just everywhere every sphere that I'm in, as soon as I get knowledge, I want to pass it on. And
Yeah.
so I'm super stoked. I love Augusta Nation and the people in it, and I think this coaching program is going to be huge.
Yeah, me too. And you guys are paving the way for all the other people that are going to come behind you.
Yeah, it's fun working with Lee and developing, like taking a lot of Mike's frameworks that he's
Yeah.
talked about individually, bringing them together and seeing where like the flow chart is. Like it's really cool seeing it get built because you can use our frameworks. You've got the stages of growth. You've got the 4L framework, all kinds of good stuff that when you put it all together, you can really, in a short amount of time, know where somebody's at, know where their pain points are, and give really good feedback and recommendations.
If you look back at your whole life, do you think that all the things you've done that you feel like maybe you wasted time or something, but all the effort you've put in, do you feel like all of that in culmination brings you to this moment where you'll be most effective?
Yeah, I think a lot of the failures that I experienced, number one, I don't think humility comes from just, being successful and never facing adversity.
Right.
And so without those failures, I probably wouldn't be a great coach because I wouldn't have humility, or I might not. And then a lot of the mistakes I made are the mistakes a lot of people want to make. Because I had a goal in mind of this financial goal, and for instance, just a couple specifics. The fastest way to grow your business, no matter what it is to expand your service area or to expand your services that you offer. And I did both of those. And if those just those two mistakes alone, I probably could have cut 4 years out of my growth cycle.
Wow.
So yeah, if I can help somebody like immediately, if they're like, hey, here's my territory. What do you think about servicing this area? I'm like, no, don't do that. I've done that a lot. That really messed me up. Or if they're like, hey, what do you think about adding chemical spraying? And chemical spraying on itself is fine if that's what you're going to focus on. I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying like anything that's not what you're focused on, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
So
how many
I think it's
times
going
did
to help
I
a lot.
tell you before you got the revelation?
A lot. A lot. I'm not I didn't learn too quick. But I did learn. Yeah.
I forgot to touch base on it, but I know you laid out a whole plan for your employees to help motivate them. And then when you were here, you gave it to Corey at our Bellingham shop, and he was going to try to implement something. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And if you could, do you think that's something you could make available for those in Augusta Nation if they request?
Yeah, I can make just a link for the Word doc. I think I still got it. If not, I'll just type it up.
Okay, I'll post it when I post the interview.
Yeah, it's based on that SMART, that acronym of how to set goals.
Okay.
but yeah, it lays it out, from, hey, spend as much time as you can, an hour, 3 hours, writing down your goals. Think about the categories of what you want to achieve and improve, and then label them short term. What you're gonna accomplish within a year. Medium term would be, or a year to a couple years, and then long term. Write those down, and then as far as like the specific is, you need to have a target. And you can't just say, for instance, a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the year, be like, I want to save more money. That's a very, I want to be smarter with my finances. A lot of people say that, and it's not specific at all. Like, you can make that specific, like say, okay, I want to save $1,000 by, this date. And that way you can track it. And so all goals need to be specific so you can measure them and then track them. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because if you say something vague, you can't really tell if you hit it or not. And then if you can find a group to share them with and to go over them, you can do it weekly. That that's going to be on your mind, and you're going to be, that next week, your actions are going to go towards fulfilling that goal instead of going away.
Awesome. Are they on board with that from what you shared with them so far?
Yeah. This past Wednesday, actually, because we're going over it, and I think Jeremy does really good. That's probably why he's great at operations. Like, I would go over this concept, SMART, and maybe I talked about it for 30 minutes, asked them for feedback, I'd move on to the next topic next week. But there's, how many letters are there in SMART? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters in SMART. We're doing one letter each week. And so cool. Yeah, so that was Jeremy's idea, and I think it was great, because it keeps the guys engaged longer. And so this past Wednesday, we had the whiteboard, and we just, we went over measurable. That was the one. And so we went over a brief of what that means, and then we went over everybody's goals. I wrote them down on the whiteboard, and then I was like, okay, let's make this one measurable. And so that's what we did. Went through everybody's goal, made them measurable, took a screenshot of them, recorded in a file, so that I know their goals. And so whenever I'm talking to them throughout that week, I can just ask them, or if there's anything I can help them with specifically, we can just keep those goals in conversation.
I love it. I think that'll help a lot of people. So if you can send me the link, I'll put it in the notes when I post this. It'll probably be not this Sunday, but the next one. So if you send me the link this week, then I will be able to post that.
Okay, perfect. I'll do it.
All right. Thank you for your time. And I will let you go be with your family.
No problem, Liz. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, you as well. Bye.